Hi, this is Melanie for the Pardesi channel. I'm here to do a movie review of the recent Telugu film Rangasthalam. Rangasthalam means theater or stage, and it's also the name of the village that our hero Charan's Babu lives in. And this is, I think, my fourth Sukumar film, the writer-director. I saw one Nino Kadeni, which was my first Mahesh Babu film, which wasn't necessarily the greatest film to be the first Mahesh Babu because there was just a lot of, I think I would enjoy it more seeing it now after seeing several other of Mahesh's films. But I should go back and watch that one. And then Aria 2, and then recently I saw 100% Love, which is one of Sukumar's earlier films. And he has an interesting style in that there's a lot of flashbacks, and it's not a completely linear storyline. This one seemed to be unique compared to all the other films of his that I have seen, in that it is a village setting. And I've watched enough Telugu films now that I kind of had an idea of what the setting being in a village and that it was a period film from set in the 1980s was going to mean. That there was going to be a villain who had too much control in the village. The villain is played by Jagapathi Babu, who is just called the president for most of the film. He's been the president for 30 years of this little village and just has an ironclad control over everything. Ram Charan's character, Titi Babu, there's a joke that he's a sound engineer, which, thank you, one of the commenters explained to me as that sort of a slur against a deaf person. But he has a hearing impairment. It's not complete. If someone shouts at him, he can hear. But of course, it's that his hearing loss is used for comedic effect. There's, especially in the romantic storyline, she doesn't realize he's deaf. And so there's a lot of funny bits about him misunderstanding what she's saying, or once she understands that he's deaf, she purposely speaks softly to tell him that she loves him, and I really enjoyed some of those scenes. So I never felt that he was completely being just mocked for having a disability, but it was a plot point in several points where he misunderstands what is going on, or his hearing becomes a real handicap in some of the tense action scenes when he can't find someone that he's searching for. The village setting was interesting, setting it in the 80s, which you could always tell because his brother, who is, the more studious one, has those 80s big, huge glasses. His brother is played by Aadhi Pinisetty, who I last saw as a villain. I think he was much better suited in this film as playing the more mild-mannered, studious brother who has returned home from Dubai, and when he sees all the injustice in the village, decides to run against the president, which sets off all of the events that happen. And of course, his brother, played by Ram Charan, is just going to defend him and stand up for him no matter what happens. So there was a lot going on in this film. It's 3 hours long, but what I have to say about it is, yes, at times maybe the pacing lagged a little bit, but there were so many little moments that later had a payoff. One in particular, when Ram Charan is in some fields, he happens to find a watch, and he takes it to someone who he calls Auntie, for her to maybe pawn. And she gives him the money, but then she also says, I'm going to give you the watch. And she puts the watch on his wrist. So at first I thought, okay, this is just a moment to establish their warm relationship. But there's a payoff with a backstory about that watch later in the second half of the film. So that's what I mean. There's all sorts of little moments. You think they're throwaway moments, and then they come back. They come back at the later half of the film and have a payoff. And there was really big payoffs to the story. I thought I knew exactly how the story was going to progress. I've seen these kind of village dramas before, but there were still twists. There were things that in retrospect, I was like, oh yeah, I could kind of see that happening, but really there were surprises in the second half, all the way to the last moments of the film, where things that I didn't completely see coming. When we start the film, we start in the middle and then we get flashbacks, and then there's more, like I said, it's all non-linear where we're kind of going back and forth in time. It's not confusing. It's just interesting, Sukumar's narrative style and how he chooses to use flashbacks to tell a story. I found the storytelling very compelling. This is my first film seeing Ram Charan star, and I really thought he did an excellent job playing our hero. Samantha Prabhu I've seen in several films. I guess I should call her Samantha Akkineni now. She was wonderful. This was very different from any other kind of film that I've seen her. I've never seen her play kind of this village girl before, a simple village girl who had some spunk, and which I always love in a female character, and how she finally, while there's a scene where he's kind of berating her and she seems like she's just completely mild-mannered, and then all of a sudden she plants a kiss on him to declare her love, and it was awesome. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is one of my favorite lines, when there's a particular character is being forced by her father to get married against her will. She finally, just because he keeps threatening to drink poison, when she just finally has had enough, she stands up, and I think she's just going to run away. But no, she goes and she brings back a bigger bottle of pesticide or poison, and she's like, here, the little one's not going to do the job. Take this big one. So that was a very funny line to me. There was a really big crowd in my theater. I had heard such great things about this film, and it really lived up to the hype. I thought the trailer was wonderful, and it really, almost all of it was fantastic. So what are my quibbles? Well, there is a item number, which as a standalone piece, the item number was okay. It has Pooja Hegde, who looks like she has lost so much weight, she is half of herself. I don't know what happened, but I didn't even hardly recognize her. She's gotten like that. So, okay, so that's, if it was just a standalone thing, it's fine. But the problem is the placement in the film. And it just is jarring because almost every other song fits into the narrative and is sort of organic in how the song happens. Especially the song where Ram Charan falls in love, and he just, I don't know the Telugu phrase, but he's just kind of doing, he's doing that thing where she's just so cute, he can't stand it, and he's just like a mooncalf. That was one of my favorite song sequences. But this item number, he literally has brought his bride home, and 2 seconds later, one of his friends up and is like, the Dazzle Queen is in town, and then he drops her off and leaves to go to the bar. What? I mean, this item number could have happened if he was trying to drown his sorrows at a point when he and Samantha were on the outs. Something else rather than, hey, here, Mom and Dad, here's my bribe. Now I'm going to go off to the tavern and dance with the Dazzle Queen. It was just like so jarring in how it did not fit in the narrative and was just shoehorned in there for no reason. I mean, I love a good item number. It just offended me how it was placed, that he left his bride literally 2 seconds after he got to the house to go sing and dance at this item number. The supporting players were really good. I love seeing Prakash in any film. He had a really interesting part in this film as a senior politician who is kind of an advisor and mentor to Aadhi's politician, burgeoning, young politician. Jagapathi I have seen in so many films, and he's exceptional at playing that sort of caring father. He's done that for Mahesh Babu in several films and so forth. But there is nothing he excels at more than being a really scary villain. He was an exceptional villain in this. He plays a villain who is just almost, like a mafia don in this town, just has complete control and is scamming everyone. And he wraps himself in this religious piety where he's doing all of these ceremonies, and he has gotten all the villagers so scared that they even have to take off their shoes as they walk past his house. And that was an amazing little detail of just showing how much power he had in the town. So I have to hand it to Sukumar for really doing a great script. 3 hours was a little long. It could have been tightened up a little bit, but overall, I was really entertained for the entire film. I didn't see all the twists coming, which when you feel like, okay, I'm in for a familiar story, I enjoyed watching the familiar story play out, but then I was really happy that I got some surprises. Some of the scenes were really interesting filmmaking. There's one particular chase kind of scene at night where you see all these flashlights in a field, and that was particularly good. That was a really cool scene. There's one song which I read another review that said it was an echo of the way films of the 80s and early 90s treated death scenes. But for me, I really was getting teary-eyed seeing one particular character passes away suddenly, and watching the whole family and all the villagers gather together and prepare his body, and he's sitting up, and people are just, the care that they're showing and the respect to him and leading up to the funeral pyre, it was really moving. And I saw some people complain about how long it was, but for me, who had not seen all of those steps before, it wasn't old hat for me. I've just found that whole scene very, very moving, and the song that went with it very affecting. I thought Charan did a great job with all of the other songs, the big dance numbers in the first half of the film especially. He just did an exceptional job throughout. I thought he was really good. I would love for you to tell me in the comments what are some of his best films. I'd like to see some of his other work. This was just my first film of his, and I just thought he was so good. He had good chemistry with Samantha Akkineni. I liked their pairing together, and it was fun, like I said, to see Samantha doing such a different kind of role. I have never seen her play a village girl like this before. So highly recommend this film. If you've seen the film, please let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Did you like it as much as I did? It was great here seeing it on a Sunday night with such a big, full crowd. I'm hearing that it's doing great business from you guys who have been saying, where's my review? Sorry, I've been traveling, and this was a holiday weekend, Passover and Easter. Finally, when all the family left, I was able to run out and see the film tonight. Here Sunday night is when I'm recording this. If you like this film review, please press that like button, share the video either on Facebook, WhatsApp, or whatever. Subscribe here to the Pardesi channel, and if you press the bell, then you'll get a notification whenever I have a new trailer reaction or film review.